The bottom line is that we're fighting for the child's right for their heart to keep beating. Mm-hmm. So if the heart is not continuing to beat, all other rights are kind of secondary.
It is Friday, September the 26th. We made it.
Yes, we did.
And what a week it's been.
Crazy week.
Every week is crazy. But, you know, looking back, and three of us talked about, of course, Derek Turner, executive producer in the room. We talked about this before we pressed record and the kind of week that it's been and the topics that we covered on this show. So let's do a quick recap. Monday, empty beer bottles. Where do they go? Of course, we had Gary Sands from the CFIG.
Big controversy. Big
controversy. Tuesday, breaking news as a rookie MPP was thrown out of Premier Ford's caucus as he's now facing assault charges.
That's right, and is still yet to say anything.
Not a peep.
No statement, no message to the constituents in his community, nothing.
Right. Wednesday, the effects and the potential links, as some would say, Tylenol to autism.
Yes.
And that women who are pregnant should not take it.
Yes, which is complete baloney. It was actually amazing, just to go off topic for a second, but the pace at which the medical community in Canada answered to that. And
it was crazy.
They just came out in full force to respond, whether it was Health Canada, different organizations that treat women, pregnant women, experts all over the country, just right out the door. This is ridiculous.
Right.
So it was kind of fascinating to watch.
It was. And it started Monday with the Food and Drug Administration in the U.S. Sending this release out saying, wait, there is a connection here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Robert Kennedy and Trump and,
yes,
that kind of took on a life of its own.
Yeah.
So that was Wednesday. And then last night, coyotes. And what to do.
Every time we talk about coyotes, it goes bonkers. You know what, though? But it really is an issue facing so many communities. This idea that you're walking your dog or running on the trail and you see a coyote coming up, and there was that sad story out of Orillia where people lost their pet. Someone lost a pet. Someone's other pet was attacked. You have young kids. You're walking close to them. In Toronto, it's been an issue now for years, and especially with the construction of the Ontario Place.
Right.
There's been all kinds of issues, and I think just people are looking for answers. And it was Leslie Sampson who was on the show, right, from Coyote Watch Canada,
right,
talking about how there's a lot of thinking that has to go into how we interact with wildlife, like to be careful not to be feeding them. She specifically pointed that some photographers will leave food out to try to get these animals to come close to get a good picture, right? And
careful what you wish for.
Yeah, and part of it is like we need to be careful. Like don't be feeding these animals. Don't make it seem like they should be coming to your backyard for an old slice of pizza or something.
No.
And not pinning blame on people, but I'm just saying that's kind of the way it is. You have to be careful.
Okay, so to tonight, another important topic. One of our markets, Sault Ste. Marie City Council recently, in fact this week, saying no to a wonderful organization based in Calgary, at least that's where it started, called Hope's Cradle.
Yes, this is the organization that helps set up places for women to bring babies that they don't feel that they can care for.
Right.
So it's a safe place to drop your baby. It could be in the middle of the night.
Yep.
I believe it started at a fire hall in somewhere in Calgary,
Strathmore,
or somewhere in Alberta. Strathmore, Alberta. And it's the idea is there's no judgment, no questions asked. If you're struggling, you feel like you can't handle being the mother to this child, you can bring it safely to this place. And it's she wouldn't. They haven't ever released data on how many babies are actually dropped off for privacy reasons, but it has spread a little bit. I believe there's a community in Manitoba that has one of these now.
Correct.
And in Durham region in Clarington, Ontario, I think
that is correct. Yes,
the community has one, right? And so in Sault Ste. Marie, they've been looking at the issue for the last couple of years. City Council agreed to take a look at it.
Yeah.
And this week it was rejected. And it's a tough one because as the lead solicitor in the city talked to City Council, there's liability concerns with this.
Sure,
right? Do we
of course.
really, there's no framework. The province hasn't set up a framework for this kind of thing. Is it really the city's responsibility? They put themselves at risk? And a lot of debate about whether this would be something that would work in the city. And I think it's a discussion that's happening in a lot of communities because it really, on paper and in theory, it's a wonderful idea, right?
Yeah. But
then when you get into the nitty-gritty details, you worry about whether there is some liability concerns, other issues that you have to overcome. But we did speak to the founder of this program on our previous podcast.
Yes, Jordan Guilford, the founder and CEO of Hope's Cradle. Let's talk about Hope's Cradle. What prompted you to create it, and how does it work?
Sure. So Hope's Cradle was actually initiated back in 2019, and then of course the world stopped turning for a few years. But initially, our board chair, who's a homicide detective, came to me asking if there was anything that I thought Gems for Gems could do about the tragedy that often was happening in Calgary, where babies were found in ditches and dumpsters, alleys, and other things like that. And of course, as a homicide detective, when the babies were found, they were usually deceased, which meant they were his cases. So obviously very sad. So he came to me asking if I thought Gems could do anything about it. And I had actually independently been looking into solutions like the baby boxes in the States and other alternatives in Germany as well, because of the cases that were growing in Calgary as well. So when he brought it up, I said, absolutely. And we put our heads together, pitched it to the board, and they said, yes, absolutely. So we got to work. Initially, what we wanted to be able to do was bring cradles to hospitals in Calgary. But of course, with it being 2020, probably the worst time in history to try to be working on something additional with the hospitals. So we worked at that for about 2 years. The hospitals kept saying, yes, this is a great idea. We love it, but not now, not now, not now. Then, of course, the babies continued to come in. And eventually I had enough of waiting, and I started looking at alternative options. And as soon as I did that, I was connected with a wonderful man called Captain Eric Alexander out of the Strathmore fire station. And he had also been wanting to be able to do something like this. And we were kind of each other's missing pieces. So we, within 5 months of meeting each other, we had our first cradle across the line in the Strathmore fire station.
That's amazing. Can you describe it for us? How does it work?
So essentially, it is there's a door that's about 2 feet by 3 feet outside of the fire station, and it doesn't have to be in fire stations, but most of ours have been to date. There's instructions on the door, so that when typically it's the birth mother that would be utilizing the cradles, when the birth mother walks up to the door, she sees the step-by-step so that there's no surprises. She opens the door, and when she opens the door, a silent alarm goes off and notifies the fire station dispatch or third party, or however it sets up, and it's sometimes different per location. Sometimes they use a third-party alarm system. Other times they use what's called a ProTalk, which is a local Calgary company that we work with for that. But a silent alarm goes off, but it does start the clock ticking. So although it's not alarming the mother, it does mean that everyone that's needed to be able to come help the baby has been alerted and is on their way. So when she opens the door, she sees a bassinet, and the baby is placed in the bassinet. There's a camera pointing at the bassinet, but there is no camera pointing in any direction that could identify the mother. And there's an envelope in there that says birth mother on it. In the envelope has resources for the birth mother's mental health and postnatal care, for resources around wherever the cradle is located. Our psychologist's information is there, so that if she would like help being able to identify the areas that she needs help in, that's there for her as well as a medical form for her to fill out information about the birth father, her medical health, her medical history, any family information that she would like to share. And then there's also a guided letter that she can send in her final words to her baby. And so the envelope is addressed to the location of the cradle, and the postage has already been paid on it as well. So the birth mother doesn't have to worry about that either. So after about 2 minutes, there's a secondary alarm, and this one is audible. And that's just to let her know that someone is very close to coming. We're trying to make this as compassionate for both sides of the equation as we possibly can. So we don't want the birth mother saying goodbye and having a firefighter open the other side of the cradle during that type of time. So she's given that secondary alarm. She closes the door locks and cannot be reopened. And then within a minute or two, someone will be there.
That's amazing.
That is. How often is this happening, Jordan?
Well, legal reasons, I can't tell you how often our cradles have been used, simply because we don't have enough. Right now, if I was to say who or that
Yes.
one was utilized, it would be kind of counterproductive as far as keeping the anonymity there. But we are very happy with with the progress that we're seeing as far as the impact in the communities with our cradles. And it's easier to kind of talk numbers with regards to the states. For instance, since 1999, I believe almost 5,000 babies have been saved via cradles like this. So it's really our organization's goal to be able to have Hope's Cradles everywhere, so that it's a resource for everyone.
But it's safe to say mothers have used this service. Is that, am I allowed to ask that? Yeah.
Thousands of
Sorry, in Canada, I mean, in Alberta. And,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Not thousands, though.
No.
So, Jordan, you obviously started in Calgary. Now you've expanded to Ontario. Where do you have them here?
So in Ontario, we're working with Clarington. We've already built one in Clarington, which is very exciting. And we're looking for a launch, hopefully, in November. Sault Ste. Marie is speaking with us, and Pickering has also committed as well. We're having some other discussions with other areas as well. Niagara is one of them. And up north in a few different communities up there too are talking with us. But those are the ones that are confirmed.
How's the reaction been from the public? Do some people say, "Oh, I don't understand why we need this," or what do people who aren't as well aware of this issue as you are? What do they say to you?
There's a variety of responses, as I'm sure you can imagine. About 99.9% of them are really positive. Of the negative ones, the main negative one is that they wish this wasn't a necessity, which so do we. But then when you get kind of further into it, the more negative ones, one is that it's violating the child's right to know their parents. And we don't argue with the child's right to know her parents, but the bottom line is that we're fighting for the child's right for their heart to keep beating. So if the heart is not continuing to beat, all other rights are kind of secondary. And these are, the interesting thing here is that these are all what I call viable babies. So they're full-term babies that were delivered and are able to survive with care. So for me, that's where we start, and that's really what we're focused on, being able to protect that.
Jordan, I know you can't get into specifics because of the legal reasons that you alluded to, but can you kind of give us some broad success stories and speak to that?
Yeah, what I can speak to is kind of the type of women that are looking for this and why it's important.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing is a lot of trafficked women and women in abusive situations. And the important thing here is that sometimes the anonymity can polarize the public, where some people feel that when there's anonymity, they're not taking responsibility, they're getting away scot-free. That's another one that keeps coming up. But what we need to understand is that we don't understand. And some of the stories that we're hearing are things like the babies being utilized to make the trafficked girls do things. Sometimes the babies themselves are being sexually exploited. And especially for young girls or for anyone in that type of situation, I can't imagine seeing this little baby that you just brought into the world being utilized like that. And some of the women genuinely believe the baby's better off dead than going through that. And I think it's really easy to villainize the mothers, but I think, again, we need to be grounded in the fact that we cannot understand what they're going through, and we just need to meet them where they're at and provide this anonymous option, because all other anonymous options are unsafe.
Yeah, and really, I don't grasp that, why people would think that. I mean, to me, as your goal is 100% to save the child, right? If you can figure out a way that this baby's going to live and thrive and have a better life than they might have had otherwise, I don't understand why people would disagree with that. But I guess people are funny. Where
the polarizing comes is where the sense of justice comes in. And I just think we need to be above that. and really focus on the baby.
If I'm reading the story, you mentioned Sault Ste. Marie is looking at this possibility. We run Sault Today, which is one of the local sites we have, and they've written about it. And one of the things that interests me is that a mother can come back within 30 days and say, I made a mistake. And how would they do that? That information is in the envelope you leave with them?
Yes, there is information in the envelope, but this is something that I really love about that. And it's kind of moving along the lines of what happens with adoption. Mm-hmm. So with adoption, there's 30 days to be able to change their mind, and it changes per province. But we are moving forward with that 30-day policy. And the concept with this, again, if we go back to women surviving or existing in abuse, they have that time, that grace period, if the baby is in imminent danger, to be able to place their baby here anonymously, find safety, make a situation that the baby can exist in, and then come back for their baby as well. And to date, we haven't had anyone use the cradles for that, but I hope that someday it does get used for that, because you hear too many times that a mother knew her baby was in danger, and then the baby ends up passing away because of some horrific thing happening to it. And I hope that our cradles get utilized for this as well.
Jordan, how gratifying is this for you? I mean, like you said, you worked a long time trying to make this happen, and now you're seeing it expand. Actually, it's growing into other cities. How gratifying is that for you?
It's wonderful, but it's one step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited about that step, but I'm aware of how much larger it must be in order for us to be able to start getting the numbers like what we're seeing in Germany and in the States. And to me, it is a when, not an if, the next baby is found in anyone's area. And the thing is that a lot of rural locations, for instance, feel that they don't need this type of service there. But the thing is that most of the babies that are found in cities are found via homeless people looking for food. And if you have rural areas, there's just not the same amount of dumpsters, the same amount of people going dumpster diving, and the babies just aren't found. It's not that it's not happening, they're just not being found. So I think we really need to have a clear concept of the magnitude of this and keep focused on where we need to go.
Jordan, before we let you go, is there anything else about Hope's Cradle or Gems for Gems that you'd like to mention that we didn't touch on?
Well, I just really love to be able to leave you with that parting message of it is a when, not an if. And I would like people to understand that for their communities, and understand that bringing a Hope's Cradle is not difficult. And now that we know better, I think we need to understand we must do better.
It's conversations like that, and that's why I love what we do on this show. We had heard a little bit about this program, this initiative out west, and then you sit down and have a great conversation with somebody like Jordan, and your eyes are completely opened up to what I certainly think is a great initiative.
To something different, and you hope that people listen to the show and they stop when they're done and say, well, I had no idea that existed, or I had no idea that was an issue, or that was a controversy, or that was something that people are working on. And I like the fact that we're having these kind of conversations on this podcast, and we're having them every day, and we're still here, we're still standing. So, and I can tell you we have some great conversations in the works for next week. So please, come back.
All right, let's do it. Have a good weekend.
You as well.
All right, man. We'll see you on Monday. Thanks for your time this week. Be sure to follow us all across social media. Check out our website, closerlookpodcast.ca. And, of course, any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Love feedback, good or bad, and we get both. Closer Look at villagemedia.ca. For Derek Turner, our executive producer of Closer Look, and Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief, thanks for your time this week. We truly appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you Monday night at 7 right here on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.